Hi, my name is Charlie, aka the Guitar Boy. Today I am going to be teaching chemistry. And the part of chemistry we are going to be treating today is the introductory part of chemistry. As this part is very important to every student that want to learn chemistry. For chemistry that is preparing, both students that are preparing for chemistry exam such as WAEC, NECO, post-UTME, UTME, nursing exam, every of these students that are preparing for this exam need to, especially those ones that are just planning to enter SS3, like senior classes, that are just planning to take up chemistry as a subject. This introductory part is very, very crucial. Here we are going to explain the meaning of chemistry and what you are supposed to know about chemistry and how you should position your mind as per the subject of chemistry. Because if you don't position your mind like this, you will find chemistry difficult. Because there is a reason why you are studying chemistry, and if you don't know the reason, if you don't know the purpose why you are studying chemistry, you will not do well. For if you don't know the purpose of something, the abuse is inevitable. First, we are going to define chemistry. Now, what is chemistry? Chemistry is one of the branches of science that deals with the study of the composition, the properties, and the uses of matter. Chemistry deals with the study of the composition, the properties, and the uses of matter. And which means, as a chemistry student, what you are expected to know, what you should focus your mind on, is how to know about the composition, the properties, and the uses of matter. And what is matter? That we should know the composition of, the properties of, and the uses of. What is matter? Matter is anything that has mass and occupies space. You are a matter, I am a matter, the chair you are sitting on is a matter, inasmuch it is something, and this thing occupies space, it is a matter. And it is now the position of a chemist to study, or a chemistry student to study the composition of this matter, the properties of this matter, and the uses of this matter. You should position your mind this way, as this will help you through the study of chemistry. The first thing we are going to be talking about here will be the composition. What is composition? Every matter you can think of around you are composed of something, are made up of something, are made up of elements. So composition are the various elements that are present in that substance. For example, water. Water have the composition of H2O. Water have the composition of H2O, which means water is composed of hydrogen and oxygen. Now, how many hydrogen do we have in a molecule of water? Everything here is one molecule of water. How many hydrogen do we have in a molecule of water? We have two hydrogen. You see the two here. It shows that we have two hydrogen and we have one oxygen. So water is made up. Now, I cannot tell anybody around me the composition of water. That water is H2O. Water is composed of hydrogen and oxygen in 2:1. That is 2 hydrogen and 1 oxygen. Another example to explain composition is carbon 4 oxide. Carbon 4 oxide is composed of carbon and oxygen in the ratio of 1:2. Which means carbon 4 oxide, which is also known as carbon dioxide, contain 1 carbon and 2 oxygen. That is the composition of carbon 4 oxide. Another example you can also think about is calcium carbonate. Calcium carbonate. Now, this calcium carbonate is composed of its composition is what? Calcium, carbon, and oxygen. is made up of three elements: calcium, carbon, and oxygen. These are the composition of all of them together made up calcium carbonate. And calcium carbonate is one of the components of cement you use today to build your house. So the ratio here is what? 1:1:3, which means it contains one calcium, one carbon, and 3 oxygen. So calcium carbonate contains one calcium, one carbon, and 3 oxygen in it together to form calcium carbonate. So that is for composition. You now know that everything around you is made up of what? Is composed of something. It's made up of elements. So we chemists, we don't just, as a chemistry student, you don't just see things around you and begin to say this is it. Without, we study the composition of everything around us. We try to know what they are made up of, the element that they are made up of. Now we now move to properties. Properties is divided into two. We have physical property and chemical. We have physical properties and chemical properties. Now, what is physical properties? Physical properties are those characteristics that you can measure in any substance you find around you without having to change the chemical nature of that substance. Those characteristics of that substance that you can measure without having to change the properties, the chemical nature of that substance. Changing the chemical nature of that substance, meaning, okay, just as we have calcium carbonate now, maybe because you are not studying the properties of carbon carbonate, you now, maybe incidentally in the process, you now break calcium carbonate into calcium and CO3. This break calcium into calcium and CO3. Now, this one is now alone, not joined together again like this. This one is also alone. In this case, they are not together again because you want to study a given property. You have separated them. This one is not calcium carbonate again. It's just calcium. This one is not calcium carbonate again. It's not another thing. So in that case, chemical, when you are studying the physical properties of any substance around you, it does not bring it does not result to something like this. It still remain, that thing you are studying will still remain the way it is. Whether it changes from one state to another, or not, it still remains the way it is. For instance, water. Now, examples of physical properties are temperature, boiling point, melting point, density, texture, solubility. These are examples. Now, if you now want to think about it now, take for example water, H2O, water. Now, the reason why you know water, when you're talking about let's take one of it to explain what physical property is. Now, let's take the melting point and the boiling point. Let's use these two to explain it. Now, when you carry out water from your fridge, when you bring out water from your fridge, you will notice that at a time the water will melt. And when you heat the water, at a time the water will vaporize to vapor. But does that but when you are still mentioning it, you say when you want to mention it, describe it to someone, you say solid water, which is the freeze water, the liquid water, and the gaseous water, that's the vapor. Why did you still put water there? It is because this molecule still remain the same. It did not break to maybe hydrogen and oxygen. Maybe this one will not go to one side, this one will not go to one side. It did not break. It still remain the same. Hence, you can call it what? Water, because it has not lost the chemical identity. It still remains what? Water. So, When you are talking about the physical, that's what the physical properties really talks about. When you are talking about the physical properties, you don't actually affect the chemical nature of the substance. The substance still remain the same. You don't affect the chemical nature of the substance. It remain what? The same. That is what? Physical what? Properties. Now, talking about chemical properties. Chemical properties are those characteristics that bring about the change in the chemical nature of the substance. Like I said before, take for instance, you have water, H2O. Maybe when you now H2O, when you now heat it now gives you what? H2 plus O2. So when it gives you H2 plus HO2, you put 2 here to balance the equation. When it gives you this, you see that this is a chemical change because this water here is no longer the same here again. It has been broken into hydrogen and oxygen. So they are not the same again. You can't call this one water, neither can you call this one water. However, you can call this one water still without changing anything. So that is what chemical properties. Physical property does not bring about the change of the substance in itself. It still remains the same. However, the property can change. Like the temperature, because for water, for instance, now you can say the temperature at ice is below 0 degree. The temperature at liquid state is so temperature. At gaseous state, so temperature. The properties, the characteristics can change, but the component in itself will not break, it will not change for physical properties. But for chemical properties, it will change, it will break, it will bring about different substances, it will produce different things, different from the former thing, bring about chemical change. New substance will be formed, but the first one, new substance will not be formed. Okay, now the next thing we are going to talk about is what the uses of matter. You know, the reason why we study all these things around us is so that we can use these things effectively to solving problems around us. So that we can use them to solving problems around us. So that we can, besides solving problems around us or using them like that, so that we can protect those things around us. For instance, now with the knowledge of chemistry, you can protect your iron, for instance, from rusting. Now you know that as a chemist, iron will react with oxygen and air to produce iron 3 oxide. Iron 3 oxide. So iron will react with oxygen and air to produce iron 3 oxide as a product. So that is it. Iron initially is this. But when it now reacts with oxygen and water in your environment, it will result to iron 3 oxide, which is that rust, that brown substance you see. That is a chemical reaction. It was formerly just this. Now it reacts with oxygen and air, oxygen and water moisture in your environment, and turn to this. This is rust, and this is what will now be breaking off the surface of the iron. Before you know, the iron will now be eaten off. So that is it. Now that you have know the how to approach chemistry, the things you are required to know in chemistry, as per these various. In short, when you talk about chemistry, just know that you are going to be talking about studying composition of matter, properties of matter, and the uses of matter. Those are the things matters are like, there are many things around us that you can actually study. So now, if besides that, let me just recap with the properties. Like I told you before, that getting to know the properties, you can manipulate things around you so that you can make a good use of them. You can manipulate things around you just for you knowing the properties of the substance around you. You can manipulate them for your advantage. For instance, if you have a salt and the salt mistakenly poured on the ground. If it mistakenly poured on the ground, what do you do as a chemist? What do? You just think about how to separate it. And you think about chemical properties, you think about physical properties. You think about, when you think about them, you just say, okay, Now, if I dissolve this thing in water, which is a universal solvent, if I dissolve it in water, which one will dissolve? Now, if you dissolve your salt in water plus sand, because they are mixture, they are not substance, they are not substance, chemicals, they are mixture. So when you have them together and you want to separate them plus sand, what do? You dissolve them in water. When you dissolve them in water, this salt will not dissolve in water. This sand will not dissolve. You know that. This salt will dissolve in water. This sand will not dissolve in water. And as a result, since this sand does not dissolve, you will not decant this salt and water away. You will not pour them into another container. The sand will remain order. You will not throw the sand away. Then the water plus sand, that is not plus the water and the salt, that is not remaining. You will not pour the water into a pot and boil it. And you boil the water away. That is boiling point. Because the boiling point of water is higher than that of what? Is lower than that of salt. So the water will boil away. Now, once the water boils away, you now have your salt. You see, we have used two properties here. The two properties is solubility. So, solubility. So, we use solubility by dissolving the two mixture in water. So that we can separate sand. Now, after we separate sand, what about the water? How can we now remove the water? We now use boiling point. So we now use boiling point to boil away the water so that the salt can be remaining. You can now have your salt to use instead of throwing away your salt. So that's the essence why you have to know the chemical properties and the physical properties of everything of matter around you. Now let's talk about the thing, one other thing that is usually students do ask sometimes, that where did calculation come in chemistry? Calculation comes when you have to measure appropriate amount of this substance that you can join to another substance to achieve your aim, to get that thing you are looking for. So you have to calculate, if I add this to this, I will use it to do this. If you add excess of this to this, you might get things mixed up. You might get things spoiled. So you have to add appropriate amount of this to this for you to get an appropriate result. Now, for instance, if you have one bag of cement and you mix it with one trip of sand, what does that tell you? It means that you have just wasted that cement. Because if you use it to build house, it means you are not ready to build house. So that's where calculation comes in, for you to know the amount of this that is required to add to the amount of this, so that you can achieve this particular amount of this. That is where the calculation aspect now comes. It's used to calculate the amount of substance in whatever thing you are doing in chemistry. Now that you have listened to this class, I believe you have gained something from this class. I want you to please share this video so that other students can learn from this video, because this video is a very good foundation for every student that want to take the journey of chemistry. You like and share, and also comment. I want to hear your feedback so that we can improve on these classes. I want to hear your feedback. Just give us your feedback. Thank you. God bless you. We'll meet in our next class, even as you share this video for others to see. God bless you. Bye.